Everybody, welcome to this episode of the RV Small Talk podcast. This time around, we are not at home. And no, in fact, we are at a really cool thing that happens every year. It's annual, and this year it's in Las Vegas. I believe it's Las Vegas every year. But this is the annual RVDA convention where dealerships come together to learn and to share and to grow and to get better at what we do. So, recorded at the RVDA convention in Las Vegas for 2023. This is the RV Small Talk podcast. And welcome to the RV Small Talk podcast, where we talk about lightweight trailers, truck campers, the people, places, and adventures that go right along with them. We are your hosts from Princess Craft RV. I'm Clint.
I'm PJ. And we are here with Phil Ingrassia, who is the president of RVDA. We feel so special.
Well, thanks for inviting me to be on.
Well, it is our pleasure. And we're going to jump right into this because there's a lot to talk about. We've been doing this. All right, I'm just going to start here. I've been doing this 27 years. How long have you been doing it, Phil?
I've got coming up on 30 years in the RV industry.
Okay.
I worked
you
for
had to one-up me, didn't you?
Well, I started as kind of a PR guy for the Manufacturers Association, got bumped up to Director of Communications, and then when the industry started Go RVing back in 96, I moved over to the RV Dealers Association because the two associations were working to launch this national marketing campaign. And so with permission from RVIA, I went over to RVDA as their VP of communications. And then when my predecessor, Mike Molino, retired in 2012, the board made me president. So that's my story.
So here you are.
Yep. Running a big old convention in Las Vegas.
Now, for a listener, because most of our listeners are not in the industry, but they certainly love the product and the experience. What is the reason for bringing us all together, not just from across America, but from Canada and whatnot? Why gather annually for something like this? What's the benefit?
First of all, it's Vegas, okay? Can I just say, we all love an excuse to come out and have some fun, and especially if we get to have some fun together.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Okay. But what benefit do the consumers get?
He wants the real stuff.
Yeah. What?
Well, I think one of the big things that the industry has been focused on over the last 3 to 4 years is, we just sold all these RVs during the pandemic, right? So we've got about 1.5 million more RVs in the nation's bloodstream than we had in 2019 prior to the pandemic. And, we love our units, but they're houses on wheels, right? And they bump along the road and they need to get fixed. And so one of the things that we're covering here are excellence in fixed operations, which is kind of industry talk for your service and parts department, as well as the technicians. So there's a lot of vendors here talking about that. And it's not just, turning a wrench. You've got to schedule people. You've got to communicate with them. And there's a lot of soft skills, as you well know, in doing a good job in the back end on parts and service. And we found that if you could have excellence at one position in the dealership that could increase overall customer satisfaction with the dealership, it's a service advisor. Yes. Because once they bought the unit, they're back again and again to get service. Right. And that service advisor's got to be a very skilled person, and it's a high stress job too, right? Because people are going on vacation, and where's my part? Why isn't this fixed?
Right.
And
it's
just
a very middleman position too.
Yeah.
Just the nature of it.
Right. And in the industry, we got to do a better job on that side. And that's what RVDA and the Manufacturers Association, RVIA, have committed to do going forward.
You think about the customer experience. There is one experience buying the trailer or the RV or whatever it is, but then you have to go back to get it repaired. How many experiences are there at that point? 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, depending on how long you do it. So that is really the value of the dealership. And, I think that's lost on a lot of people. They don't understand that is really not only a huge part of our operations, but that is where we understand we are judged as a dealership.
I'm guilty of that. I don't naturally, inherently look very far past the sell. You know, in a
most
category
people
like
don't.
this, it's kind of like cars. I bought the car. I need the dealership for the car. And really not much else after the fact. I can go to the dealership for the service, but no one knows RVs like a dealership service center.
Right. And when I go on the floor and I look at all the vendors that are here, and there is a ton, it is a huge ballroom full of vendors. I hadn't thought about it, but so many of them are in the parts and service part of it. That or financing, a lot of banks, but an awful lot of parts and service. One thing I've noticed this year is a lot of technology. I mean, that seems to be a lot bigger this year than I've seen in the past.
Right. You know, running the dealership, you need to have good technology systems, both in the back end for service scheduling, for keeping track of sales, keeping track of your customers, communicating with them. But now, increasingly in the marketing side of it, you know, people aren't, you know, watching TV, reading a newspaper, looking at classified ads anymore. So you've got to use technology as well to communicate with the customers. And a lot of customers, not all, you know, I'm not one that likes to get a lot of text messages, but I know for a younger generation, that's how they keep in touch with their service advisor or their salesperson. They don't want to pick up the phone and they don't want to be called. They just want to know, when do I need to be there? What's going on?
Guilty.
Yep.
Sorry.
So I know. Well, and that's the thing. You know, we've got a diverse customer base, a much more diverse customer base than when I got in the industry 25 years ago, when it was really, you know, an older buyer. And I think over time, you know, we're evolving to so many different types of RV products that it isn't just, you know, a big travel trailer or a big motorhome, you know, that some people, that's their knee-jerk think when they think of RV.
Right. Now, your role takes you all over the U.S. and you meet with dealerships and big groups and all that. And some of the conversation before we got the mics and all that turned on, kind of related to, you know, what really got you into it, the experience, what really kind of pulls your heart and all that. What do you see? Because we've seen big changes. We talked about this too in the past few years. Big changes. What do you see as really the biggest changes, but also the mainstays that won't ever change? Like, what are the key things that draw people's hearts to RVing? And then what's been tweaked? COVID did something to us.
Right. Well, I think the core values of RV travel are the freedom, flexibility, and fun that you can have in an RV that really you can't with other types of travel, whether it's a cruise or staying at a resort or whatever. You know, you can plan your own itinerary. You can bring your own stuff with you. You can bring your pets with you.
Right.
You can bring the grandkids or your kids, and you can get a big group together. We see a lot of that, right? Of people who've got several RVs, and if they don't have RVs, they can throw up a tent. So you can have a community experience. And I think one of the big things that I've seen when I got in the business, it was always, we've got to get these RVs bigger. We're passing laws to make them bigger, allowable space. And certainly, you know, for the snowbird and the longer term people, that's still a huge product segment.
Sure.
But what I've seen come in and it is more variety of product, appealing to people who may not even think of themselves as quote unquote RVers. You know, the van life folks that are in the vans, the more rustic campers who are out for not necessarily a public campground experience or RV park experience where they have a lot of amenities, which are great, but these are the folks that want to go fishing or just go out into the, you know, kind of dispersed areas of the Forest Service, and really have a rustic experience. So there's really something for everybody, right? And the products have evolved to meet those needs, where, you know, it was kind of slow to adapt. You know, we had these buyers and who wanted smaller units so they could go on these adventures. Sure. But now the dealers and the manufacturers have really embraced that product segment, and there's a lot of different varieties of products.
Sure.
I think the idea of what an RVer. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on.
Folks, we have frogs in Las Vegas.
Well,
It's dry here.
this is it's dry. Not enough sleep. Maybe too much fun. I don't know. I don't know. Anything can happen, right? But what it means to be part of the RV industry, even as a dealer, but also as a consumer, has changed drastically in the past 10 years. In what I've seen, it used to be such a cut and dried industry. We knew who our customer was. We knew what the profile was. And now, like you talked about, you may want something that's going to go behind your Jeep so you can go camp out by a river where nobody is. Or you may be wanting to live out of a camper van. Or you may be a traditional RVer where you want to take your family on vacation.
Right. And, some of these RV resorts that they're building, the Margaritavilles and all these new places. I mean,
yes.
You buy a nice fifth wheel, you set up there, you're set. What a great experience.
Yes.
And that is more of a traditional type RV park experience. And it's great. I mean, I've done it in Florida. There's so many great RV parks.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I've also gone out with my brother in his tent camper. And we just have gone everywhere we want, including, state fairs and things like that. So
equally wonderful.
Absolutely.
Very different.
It's a very different
Right.
experience when you're, you're parked at a state fair with a bunch of, kids running around and all that stuff, where, the older folks can go to those beautiful RV parks and have more of an adult experience.
Yeah.
I also think, again, technology and the internet and the ability to pick up your phone, plan a trip. I mean, you can plan a trip in 10 or 15 minutes. What's available? Where can I go? Hey, I'll go here, click, make a reservation. Wait, I need to check and see if that has room for my big rig, or does this place have a swimming pool? And you can find all of that online in minutes, make a trip, go for the weekend, go for the week. It just seems so different now with all of the technology and the ability to do so many different things.
This industry is somehow calls to the gypsy in all of us. You're speaking about the freedom, the ability to chart your own course, take your own stuff, do what you want to do, end up in the places you want to end up on your terms. And that's kind of like, to me, a gypsy wagon.
Yeah.
For our version.
Well, and
everybody wants to be that guy.
Right. And the van life people, a lot of them are workers too. Mm-hmm. They are, the pandemic has really made a lot more people, not everybody, of course, but a lot of people can work remotely. It doesn't matter where they are. So if they want to be set up in a campground in Montana, they can do it. And as long as they got Wi-Fi,
right?
And
like I said,
tower.
technology,
right?
Technology and the pandemic really flipped this industry on their head. We've done a lot of podcasts on the pandemic, the numbers, the details, but since things have changed, we just came from open house. What did you see that was different?
Well, I think that one of the things, we're in kind of a soft spot of sales right now. It's not a secret.
Is that what you call it, a soft spot?
Well, that's the PR spin on it.
Okay.
But,
almost 30 years of this.
I know.
It is, we the pandemic sales bubble has burst. I mean, that's
right.
That we know that.
It's true.
And so
Absolutely.
What's been going on, I think, is the manufacturers are very, very focused on being sensitive to price point. Have you noticed that, PJ?
Absolutely.
I noticed that quite a bit at open house.
Mm-hmm. And I've kind of felt like it went both ways. There's some really expensive trailers out there that are like over optioned, and they're like bulletproof. They'll go anywhere. They're very pricey comparatively. And then there's also a whole lot of manufacturers that tried to make things more affordable. And they called it decontented.
Right. They're taking out stuff that isn't absolutely essential
Sure.
for the entry-level buyer.
It's the Cliff's Notes of the previous RV.
Right. And
Right. The abbreviated version.
But you do make a good point. We heard from an economist here at the convention during our Board of Delegates meeting from Wells Fargo. And one of the reasons that people were in the market so heavily is they weren't spending money on anything else. So they had they had this savings that they had accumulated over 2 years, and then when things started opening up, they could stroke a check for $15,000, $30,000, whatever the trailer or the RV would cost. And there's still some of that savings left, but it is drawing down a little bit. And I think interest rates play a part. We are fortunate that RV loan terms can be spread out to accommodate a lot of the payment buyers. But I think there are people on the sidelines waiting for that to settle down, and it looks like the Fed is at least pausing that kind of activity. So that should help boost sales, I think, in 2024. But it's not like sales are horrible. We're off our big pandemic high for sure.
Well, I think everything got wonky. In the industry, we talk a lot about 2022, where they made too many trailers. All of a sudden, within probably 60 days, people quit buying. I mean, it stopped. And all of a sudden, all these trailers were finally flooding into the market to meet what we thought was a demand. And it slowed down, and everybody kind of said, oh, wait. Maybe
now we have the opposite problem.
So then all of a sudden there was a ton of 22s.
Right.
And I think we worked our way through probably most of the 22s by now.
Yes.
But 24s are out. Geez.
Right.
I mean, I have never seen this in my time in the industry.
3 new model years on the lot at the same time.
Exactly. Right. I have never seen that.
That was
crazy.
A tough one for the dealers to take. But
it's still a tough one.
Yeah.
And now we have to kind of get back to having the right amount out there for people to buy and having the right amount of buyers.
Right.
How long do you think it will take before this economy kind of sorts that out and there aren't just bargain basement trailers and dealers trying to skimp on customer service, for lack of a better word?
Right. I think we're going to be maybe a titch up in 2024 for the industry. And then I think 2025 after the election and things hopefully fall out from that. I think that will help a lot. But I think one of the things the industry is going to be talking about is we'll get back to our affordability messaging. I mean, really, there is a travel trailer or some kind of camper priced for everybody, whether it's new, used. There is something. If you really want to do it, most people can figure out a way to pay for it, and the lenders are making loans. Sure, interest rates are higher, but when you look at everything's gone up. I mean, we were talking about the hotel prices here in Vegas.
That's right. We were talking about that.
Airfare, cruises, buying a condo, whatever whatever we kind of compete against. RVs still are a very affordable way for families and couples to vacation. And, getting back to our core message, freedom, flexibility, fun. That's kind of what we do. Yeah.
That is what we do, and isn't it awesome?
It is. It's a blast.
It is. It's so fun to really be in a business that is just about fun and adventure. I mean, and that may sound like a spin, but it's really not. I just love it. The last thing I want to bring up, because, that we could talk for days. I mean, but I want to talk about numbers, because we've talked about things going up and down. Mm-hmm. I mean, what's the most number of RVs sold in a year?
Well, that would have been 2021.
Okay.
600,000 RVs were shipped. I think we sold 550 that year. 2022 ticked down, and then this year we're going to probably end up the year about 350, maybe 360 retailed, and 300,000 shipped. So there was a big drawdown in inventory by the dealers, right? So next year, they're thinking about 350,000 shipped and about 350,000 retailed. So what
That's
you're
the
getting
world
back
we want
is
to live in.
normalizing.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if we ever normalize,
Well,
but we're getting
maybe the wrong word.
It's the adventure business, right?
We're trying to do that, you know, and the manufacturers are listening, I think, more than ever to the retail, the dealers about what the activity is, and that would be the perfect world if it's a one-on-one, you know. But certainly dealers have to build up inventory so they have a selection. You know, it's not like buying a furniture. Well, you can have your couch in 6 months. You know, that doesn't really work for most of
But that
the
is still the world in the couch business.
Yes, exactly.
I happen to know that.
Yeah,
so.
I do too.
And it's like, what a world.
It's a furniture showroom, you know, but it's not a dealer showroom. Even though they have showrooms, you can actually hopefully bring it home within a week or so once you buy it. So that's what, you know, people want to go. But no, you know, the industry is very resilient, as you know, and you've seen it ups and downs. And, you know, I'm not telling people how to buy an RV, but, you know, from my perspective, and I've watched this a long time, you know, buy local. The customers who buy local, and we have studies, who buy from their local dealer are the happiest consumers because they have that support. And I know people are looking at the internet and will drive many, many states away and pick up something and bring it back. But, you know, you have the excitement of the RV. How do I operate some of this stuff? There's a lot of new technology on it.
Right.
If you didn't buy local, who's going to help you out? Unless you got a buddy next door who knows everything about it. So you've got your trusted resource of your local dealer who has sold you the unit, knows about the unit, and can service it if you have warranty issues or whatever. It becomes much more difficult if you bought it hundreds of miles away and then try to get it serviced locally. That's just the way it is.
Right.
And so again, I'm not telling people how to buy, but in my experience, the happiest customers buy local.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. And you've done studies on so many different things. You probably could pinpoint, you know, certain stratas that make a difference for the experience. Is there anything else that you would tell somebody who has an RV or maybe is looking to buy one or change one that you have seen with the data that makes a difference?
Well, I do think that, like I said, I think buying local keeps customers happy. I do think learning about the systems before you take it home, or at least get the materials from the manufacturer, the dealer, and become more, you know, take it out for a short test ride before you go on a big vacation, because I've seen, you know, one dealer told me like 20% of the service calls they get are people who were so excited when they got the RV that they didn't really learn how to use the leveling systems, the HVAC system.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know how to do the dump.
Even with a good walkthrough, there's a lot to
because
take
you're
into
excited.
a movie.
You're excited. You just bought it. You want to go. So that's my advice, is to work, you know, buy local, work with a local dealer to really get checked out with a quality walkthrough, but also take it out on a shorter trip before you head across the country.
Yeah, camp nearby. That's always a great suggestion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
No, so happy to do it. And PJ, always enjoy chatting with you, whether it's at Texas RV Association, wherever they have that in Texas, or here in Vegas. It's awesome.
Well, thank you. You and I can talk about anything, and it's nice. It's a treat for me to get to talk to somebody who really knows, as a dealership, what we're going through. So we're just looking forward for, I'm kind of banking on 2025 myself. I just want to live through 2024. I think that the industry is going to really need a little more time to be able to grow a little bit more, learn a little bit more, write our inventories, and be able to take really good care of the customers.
Absolutely.
Because that's really what we're here to do, isn't it?
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, thank you. I know you've got to run. We've got a convention to join. It's early in the morning. Sorry, I sound like a frog. I got coffee right here. So don't worry about me. I'm going to handle this. And thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Everybody, that has been this episode of the RV Small Talk podcast, and we will have another one coming at you here soon. Look for it about a week away, and we'll probably have Lindsay in on that one. But until then, check out our backlog of episodes at rvsmalltalk.com, and you can find us on social media. Just look up the RV Small Talk podcast. We'll see you there. Have a great one. Bye.
Bye.